Welcome into MASN All Access. Paul Mancano, and this man needs no introduction, but I'll do it anyway. Brandon Hyde, the 20th manager in Orioles history. Brandon, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So on Monday, you were introduced as the 20th manager in Orioles history. You had your family on one side of the aisle.
Yep.
You had Brooks Robinson on the other. What was that like for you?
Oh, it's a surreal experience, obviously, and happy my family could be a part of it, and it was a special moment. And to have somebody like Brooks Robinson sitting in the front row, got to meet him before the press conference. Pretty special deal.
It's a rite of passage for every Orioles manager that they have to meet Brooks Robinson, every single one.
Yeah, it should be, yeah.
So you spent 4 seasons as a player in the minor leagues. You were a coach at the Marlins minor league level. Mm-hmm. Your first managerial gig was with the Single-A Greensboro Grasshoppers. Mm-hmm. Been a long road from there to here. What have you learned along the way?
How much time we have?
Yeah.
I've done a variety of things. I've worked with amazing people, had great mentors, but just every experience along the way. And I spent 4 years in the South Atlantic League, so I have some appreciation. A couple years in the Southern League. I run a farm system for a couple years, and then fortunate to be a big league coach for 6 years or so. So yeah. I think that I've had a lot of great experiences. I've been with a lot of great people, and. Mm-hmm. And you listen and you learn and you try to grow every day.
Some of those great people. You worked under 4 different managers at the major league level: Edwin Rodriguez, Jack McKeon, Rick Renteria, and Joe Maddon. Which of those was your favorite? Just kidding. I'm not going to do that to you. But being under 4 different managers, did that give you a good idea of the type of manager that you wanted to be?
Yeah, I think you pick. You pay attention. You pick things you like, styles that you like. I think. Right. All I ever really wanted to do when I got into coaching was to coach, and so you watch and read, and my eyes were always open to different styles and how guys reacted to certain things. But like you said, I've been the 4 different managers. All 4 are way different in their own way, and had a great experience with all 4. So hopefully, I learned some things along the way from those guys, and now I'm here.
In addition to coaching, you were also the director of player development with the Cubs for over a year, and you had a large hand in reshaping that minor league and farm system. Yep. How do you go about changing the culture of any organization, and how do you plan to do it in Baltimore?
Well, back then it was I came in with Theo Epstein group with a handful of us that I was fortunate enough to be selected to be the minor league field coordinator that first year, kind of be in uniform, rove around their minor leagues, put some policies in place, kind of evaluate what was happening, evaluate the talent that we had in our organization as well as the coaches. And then they kind of promoted me to farm director, which was doing the same thing, except I'm in the office more and working with coaches a little bit more and kind of getting the right people, I felt like, in there that were culture changers, that were impact guys. And I think we did that. And a lot of those guys are not with the Cubs anymore. They're big league coaches and doing really, really well. So I think we just got the right guys in there that just wanted to be passionate about players, passionate about teaching, grinder type of mentality, egoless, all about the organization, the player, and we had some success. And I'd like to take a similar model here. Obviously, it's a little different at the major league level. Yeah. But yeah, we have a lot of teaching to do here. Still a lot of development that happens in the big leagues, and we're looking forward to putting the right staff together and get after it.
Yeah, you do have a coaching staff still yet to build, but you have a chance to put some culture changers in there. Yeah. What kind of candidates are you looking for as you look to fill out your coaching staff?
I think I kind of described it, to be honest with you. It's guys that have no agenda, that just want to teach, that want to be Orioles and do it, to create something special, that's passionate about that. And so I think that there's, whether it's the staff that was here last year or some new faces, I think that's the kind of people we're looking for.
Gotcha. And one of your mentors, Joe Maddon, you mentioned him at the press conference, and you said he taught you a lot about staying consistent with going through the ups and the downs of a major league system, or major league season rather. How do you keep a team together and loose even as they're going through a losing streak?
Well, it's keeping a positive attitude. That's the biggest thing. It's this is such a grind of a game, and obviously it's a sport where there's failure happens so much. Yeah. and such a long season, and it's every night. It's not football, it's once a week, it's every single night. So to be able to create the culture where it's a really good workplace, it's a fun place to go to work, you're surrounded by people that you enjoy going to compete with on a nightly basis, that's really, really important. If it's not like that, it can be miserable.
Yeah.
And I think a positive work environment creates good work habits, creates enjoyment, ends up creating more wins than losses, and that you are in a good state of mind all the time.
That good state of mind and that positive culture, would you say that contributed to the Cubs' success and the World Series championship?
No doubt. I mean, listen, when you haven't done it in 108 years, you better have a good frame of mind to do something special. And we had just an incredible group of people, incredible mix of young and old, and a really, really special group that just loved each other and loved playing and loved competing and was trying to make history. And that was obviously a special time.
Yeah. Speaking of that mix of young and old, you're inheriting a roster that has a lot of young guys, but some veterans as well.
Yep.
Does your approach change when you're talking to some of the young guys on the team as opposed to some of the vets?
Yeah, a little bit. I think I have a lot of respect for the major league player, especially the veteran major league player, especially the everyday player.
Yeah.
So hard to do. They are not. I don't think people realize how hard it is to be an everyday major league player. And so for somebody that's had a long career of it, I think that they've earned a lot of respect, and I like to. That means something to me. I think we might handle situations a little bit differently, but I think everybody kind of going from the same rope, me being fairly with everybody, coaching staff being fairly with everybody, and me being consistent, I think that's the right way.
Your last manager that you worked under, Joe Maddon, he's pretty forward-thinking.
Yeah.
How much can Orioles fans expect you to push the envelope in your first season as Orioles manager, whether that means committing to the shift, bullpenning, what have you?
I'm going to do everything I can to win the game. So whether that's, play 4 outfielders against in a bat, or whether that's shifting, or whether that's, people are using the opener or bullpenning or whatever, all the new things are, whatever creative ideas have come up. If it's going to help us win the game that night, then I'm in on it. I want as much information as possible, and I want feedback. I want ideas. So, it's about winning at this level.
The front office in Chicago was also pretty forward-thinking, headed by Theo Epstein. Were you ever the guy in Chicago that went to a player and said, "Hey, I know you like to do it one way, but the numbers are telling you to do it this way"?
For sure, yeah, absolutely. I think that there's, and you can have those conversations when you have a really good relationship with your players, and the hard part is not the hard part, but to get to that point, it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of trust, takes a lot of getting to know a guy first, and so you're able to have that conversation, maybe tough conversation that, hey, I know we've been doing it a certain way for a while. Let's think about this. Here are the reasons why.
Right.
Maybe put a presentation together for the player of why it's important, not only for the team but for himself. Those kind of things happen all the time.
So we've gotten a lot of fan questions, and we're going to take some fan questions in just a little bit. One of the more overriding themes, I think, of a lot of these fan questions is how can this team get back to the glory days of the past, the Oriole Way. They brought in a lot of guys who have faces from the past, Brooks Robinson, Eddie Murray, and others. How much are you going to lean on those guys as you try to bring this organization back to the glory days?
For me, I've been in 2 organizations that really embraced legends of the game or people or players that meant a lot to the community. I'm all about it. I think it's super important. I think it's for current players to feel the historical part of what somebody special has done to 20, 30 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it may be. I want to embrace that. Chicago, Sandberg's around all the time. Billy Williams is in our coach's room every day. Ruck Sutcliffe's around all the time. Kerry Woods in spring training. We have great Cubs players. Marlins, it was Dawson and Tony Perez and Jeff Conine, and Jack McKeon, when he wasn't managing, was always around. So I think that they did a great job of connecting. Listen, if you can't learn from those guys, just being around them, then you're not paying attention.
Right.
Those guys did something right, obviously, and anything you can get from, a player like those guys were, that's so important.
Absolutely. We're going to turn it over to some fan questions as well. One coming in on Instagram. Where do you see the Orioles 5 years from today?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that we're sitting right here and we're talking about an AL East championship and maybe coming off an AL East championship or whatever it may be. But hopefully we're in a great spot and looking to repeat.
Yeah, that'll certainly fire up the fan base as well, I'm sure. This one coming from Twitter. What are the first things that need to be accomplished in order to start rebuilding this team from where it is now? You talked about putting the right guys in place in the coaching staff and other places.
Yeah,
what other things?
That's what I'm working on now, honestly, is making connections with the current players, current guys on the roster. I've had a lot of phone conversations from coaches that are kind of out there also that I feel like could possibly be impact. Some guys that were on the staff last year. Just really a get to know right now, and then we'll make some decisions here shortly.
This question coming from Instagram. Who was your favorite baseball player growing up?
Ooh. Well, I grew up in Northern California, Bay Area. I loved Will Clark.
Oh, great one.
Played here, right?
Yeah.
I played here at the end of career. Yeah. I was a big Will Clark fan, Matt Williams fan, Kevin Mitchell, like those Giants years.
Yeah.
I love that team.
Awesome. This one is Baltimore-centric, also coming from Instagram. Do you like crabs? And if so, do you like them with Old Bay?
I tell you what, I think I've answered this question more than anything the last couple of days. And I do love crabs.
People want to know.
I'm not just saying that. I'm saying the crab, I've had like 3 crab cakes in the last 2 days. If there's a question in there about do I like crab cake or deep dish,
I'll ask
answer
it now.
Again. It's going to be crab cake for sure.
Okay. Good answer.
No, I do love crabs.
Nice.
I love crab cakes. So I'm in the right spot.
Just wait until late summer next year when they're really in season. They're big. They're juicy.
I'm not a crab aficionado, but
you'll become one quickly. I feel like.
But so far, I like it.
This one also from Twitter. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Yes or no?
That's the tough one.
Age-old question.
Because of the bun.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, it's not a sandwich. I'm going no sandwich. Even though it's meat in bread, it's a significant name difference.
Right. Yeah, and I heard one that
it's like as a taco a sandwich.
Yeah. Well, I feel like horizontal orientation is a big part of that as well.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Another question, a little bit back to baseball from Instagram. What's your favorite baseball memory? Do you have one as a player, and then do you have one as a fan?
Well, my favorite baseball memory is winning the World Series.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Game 7, and that was obviously my favorite all-time baseball memory.
What was that like being on the field for that?
Oh, it was overwhelming, obviously. It's kind of honestly a little bit of a blur, but the fan reaction following, the flight back to Chicago,
right?
The on the bus to downtown. Now it was like 7 a.m, and highways just lined up with people. Oh, it was unbelievable. So
I can imagine. Did you jump on the pile when you were?
It was a major coach's scrum in the dugout. And,
nice.
And then, just run out, and so much emotion, it's not even funny, you don't know what you're doing. That's obviously my favorite.
Gotcha. Do you have one as a player as well?
As a player? God, there wasn't that many great moments. I had a lot of good moments in the minor league. I had a lot of fun as a minor league player. Came up in the White Sox organization, played with some really good players. That was a really good organization at that time. They won the World Series in 2005, so a lot of those guys were on that 2005 team. I came through the minor league system with Mark Burley, Joe Creedy, all those type guys. Just special moments there.
Awesome. Brandon, that's all I got for you. Thanks for coming on MASN All Access.
All right, thanks for having me.
He's Brandon Hyde, the 20th manager in Orioles history. Thanks for tuning in to MASN All Access.